Hello, my name is Dr. Diana Macys-Staley, and today I will be talking to you about the research I've done at the Bosnian Pyramid site, and we are going to be exploring the translation of the Megalith K-1 at the Bosnian Pyramid site. The type of research that I do is a little bit different than most people. I utilize my knowledge in data science and project management and some additional tools that I'd like to share with you as far as this procedure and methodology is concerned. So not only will we learn about this Megalith K-1, we will also expand into other areas due to the process of how I do my research. And so this is going to serve kind of a dual purpose, and then I will do an additional video just on the methodologies of utilizing something different to do your research for all those researchers out there. And you'll find it quite interesting on how everything evolves into many different levels and many different directions utilizing this process. Solving the mysteries of the past, utilizing data science and project management methodologies gives us a different view and an aspect of how to proceed forward with the information that we're finding as we go. The many ancient sites, artifacts, and history of people on this planet have been a mystery for centuries, and so archaeologists, anthropologists, and researchers have barely scraped the surface of these amazing discoveries. So, confirming a more accurate picture of our past on this planet is a very challenging thing sometimes to expand on, you could say. There is a new wave of technology advancement happening right now, so we can take a different approach in creating methodologies that can produce more accurate information and expand that information into like arms and going in different directions as well as we move forward on one topic. So utilizing large data sets and putting this information into a mind mapping technology, we can start to produce a clearer picture into the past, and this process will also allow us to validate and expand our knowledge in multiple areas, and this brings in a new era of discoveries that we can provide people during this new advancement in technology and research combined together. Our journey in research starts here in the Eastern European country of Bosnia at the Bosnian Pyramid of the Sun archaeological site with Dr. Sam Osmanagic. Dr. Sam is a Bosnian-born Houston resident. He is a published author, researcher, and businessman. Dr. Sam discovered the ancient pyramid complex in Visoko, Bosnia, consisting to date of 11 artificial structures. Dr. Sam has written 13 books on ancient history and pyramids. He is a renowned pyramid researcher on 5 continents. Dr. Sam Osmanagic is also an anthropology professor and director of the Center for Anthropology and Archaeology at the American University in Bosnia. He was also a foreign member of the distinguished Russian Academy of Natural Sciences in 2010. The Bosnian Pyramid Project has become the most active archaeological site in the world, with hundreds of volunteers uncovering the largest and oldest pyramid in the world, the Bosnian Pyramid of the Sun. Dr. Sam discovered the pyramids in the little farmer's town of Visoko, Bosnia, 15 miles northwest of Sarajevo in 2005. There are several pyramid structures and many tunnels connecting the structures in the area. The Pyramid of the Sun, known as Visoko Hill, standing at 720 feet, dwarfs the Great Pyramids of Egypt. Excavations at the tunnel site started in 2006, and the excavations and geoarchaeological research presently continues at the Pyramid Park. Exploring the translation and time periods of the symbols written on the K-1 megalith identified inside the ravine tunnels is no small task, but it could provide many answers we are searching to find regarding the overall site and history. Dr. Sam has been challenged by archaeologists and researchers for several years now. Many have tried to discredit the pyramid in general and much of the research released to date. So how do we find the truth? This is where we're going with this video. We want to identify these things as we move forward and bring in what the truth is. As an anthropologist, data scientist, and researcher, I offered to take on this task to translate the ancient text off of the K-1 megalith. The starting point would be to create a picture of the past with the mind mapping techniques that I use and utilize that to analyze data. We can then create a research plan to collect the required information to conduct an analysis of the scientific facts and testing. Mind mapping with data allows us to simplify complex data or information to create images or data sets or to gather answers more quickly and give us this picture of the past. This process will additionally confirm the information in other areas of research as we move forward in our search for the answers on the K-1 megalith. It is not only a validation process, but it gives us more of a solid basis of scientific data moving forward. This methodology will produce results on many different levels, covering various disciplines. It has been my passion for science, research, and the unknown that drives me to find answers to the many questions of our ancient past. My work experience includes the construction and engineering industries, and during that time period, I held the role of project controls engineer and project manager within the paper and power industries, working mainly as a troubleshooter on multi-million-dollar projects. I also wanted to mention that I have studied my whole life, basically, but the other areas of expertise that I have due to my education and research that I'm always doing on the side is in physics, nature, and the properties of matter, DNA analysis, cultural migration patterns, geological analysis, climate changes, health and science research, anatomy, physiology, and nutrient absorption for plants and humans. I've always been one to read a lot of books and study a lot, and this is where that came from. But also, as a child, I grew up outside of Chicago, and there we had the Field Museum and the Museum of Science and Industry, and I went there as a kid all the time. And so it was those experiences that I had as a young child that created the path for me moving forward and for me to have that passion. I'm also, at a young age, I was able to achieve a lot of things, even in high school years. I won awards from the U.S. Army and the U.S. Air Force for my research back then in hydroponics and was given medals. And so, these achievements and these passions that I have always been a part of me, and this is why I chose to take on this challenge of looking at this ancient text. It also ties back to my heritage because I'm actually come from a family that's Lithuanian, which is also part of Eastern Europe, not too far from Bosnia. And so when the release of that pyramid came out back in 2005, I was really excited because that was from an area that my family and, the heritage that I grew up in was from, is that particular area of Eastern Europe. So that is the other reason I want to look at this deeper, because it helps me to understand the many cultures in that area and what happened over time and the history there. So now we're going to get into the areas of the research on the K-1 megalith. I kind of wanted to give you a little bit of history first before we got started. In order to look at this K-1 megalith and figure out where we need to start, we have to figure out what our ultimate goal is. And we do this by using the mind mapping technique that I've been speaking about. So we want to start with that. And of course, what is our goal is to get the translation of the K-1 megalith, of these symbols on it. And, there's a few steps we have to go through. We have to look at these symbols and look at the different diagrams and then move from there. How will we find the parts that go to finding the answers on this translation? You'll be surprised by the time we get finished here where this takes us and the other information that actually pops up to the surface. So I get really excited talking about the mind mapping because this technique was taught to me at an engineering company, and it really is an amazing tool to use, and we can expand from here on this. We must first assign a starting point or a goal, which would be to translate the text or the symbols on the K-1. This would be at the center of our mind map and a goal to keep in mind as we start the research. The next step would be to review the previous information on the translations for the K-1. We actually had some people that tried to go in and do some translations on this K-1 megalith. So I wanted to start reviewing what other people had found first before I actually step forward, because there may be some clues there, or maybe some of those answers were correct, or maybe none of them were correct. So this is what I wanted to look at first. The normal process would be to find the relevant information, though, on the other megaliths, the translations comparable to the K-1. So it will become a process of elimination as we move forward. So if we look at some other symbols on other megaliths that are out there, or if we can find any that are similar, it makes it easier to actually do these translations of the ancient text. We also want to look at time periods. It's really important that we know the date and use the dates that Dr. Sam has for that particular pyramid complex to start in that time period. If we don't find anything in those time periods, then we would have to start looking at different dates. So there is a pretty big process to this. It took me many months to actually go through all this, and so I wanted to show you first, though, kind of a diagram of what we're going to do and the different areas. So in the center of our mind map, we're going to start with this Megalith K-1, and then what our goal is. The goal is to translate it, and hopefully we can date it and do some other things as we, whenever we look to solve a problem scientifically or a process, there are the questions that we ask, the who, the what, the where, the why, how, when. And so we have to look at those first and then take the scientific method of finding out what our question is or our problem is, which here it is translating the ancient text. But there will be additional questions that we continue to ask, or problems, issues, as we move forward. But we're always going to go back to this method of the scientific method of the 6 steps, which is the question or the problem, the hypothesis of what we think could possibly be the answer, the procedure and the materials, we got to look at that, test this hypothesis or experiment or idea that we have, and then look at the data and the results, and then prepare an analysis and the conclusion. So this process actually happens several times within the translation of the ancient text. And so as we move to the next video, we're going to go into reviewing the existing information that was there on the research that was done by other researchers on this translation, and take a brief look at that first before we go and move forward into what I found. So make sure you stay tuned for the next video.